Hey everyone, it's a Thursday sports algorithm podcast. That's right. We're going to talk about some Thursday games. There's preseason NFL games, which are pretty much the most exciting to watch. I'd have to say that preseason was a pretty interesting game between the Monday night game with Washington and Baltimore, and football's kind of here. Football's a fun sport to watch, and people are kind of trying even in the preseason. So it's fun to watch. It's difficult to predict, obviously, because you don't know who's playing. But normally the Eagles would crush the Colts. We'll see if that happens. We'll see if Jalen Hurts plays at all. We'll see if any of the big names play. Uh, that would be what would happen normally, but it's preseason. Atlanta somehow could beat the Steelers, who've also performed pretty well so far in the preseason. So there's that. But it should be fun to watch. You can see that watching these games and maybe live betting them, perhaps watching the flow of the game is probably the way to go with something like preseason to see who's coming in and out, because you get more of an idea. It's so difficult to know who's playing. So just fun to watch, and we'll enjoy watching some preseason football on Thursday night. I'm sure I'll be like listening to that or whatever, driving around. Things are getting busy. You can feel autumn coming. Kids are back to school, like stuff is happening. New sports are coming into the fray. I'm going to quickly touch on baseball, which is not completed yet for the night, because I'm recording this just before midnight on the 23rd, even though we're talking about Thursday the 24th. Now, basically, doesn't win everything top down, doesn't win very many of the underdogs, it looks like. Loses Washington, loses Miami, but wins with Chicago. And has a loss with Philadelphia and a loss with Seattle. These are all things that are making it not a perfect day and very difficult to show any profitability here, due to this Philadelphia loss. And Seattle came back, but then lost. Baseball is just a really tough game, and I didn't prepare baseball for Thursday because it's too much. And with everything going on, I realized I can't pay that much attention to it. It's not a sport I really enjoy watching. It's too long, it's too drawn out, and it's oftentimes the only sport going on, which is the only reason why I revisit it when on slow days. But I'm not even going to worry about it Thursday because it's okay, but it's just too much, and I don't have time really for baseball. So we'll go to a sport I do have time for. Sport that's actually going on right now. There is a game going on right now between this is WNBA. There's a game going on between the Sparks and the Mercury. Right now, that game is heading toward the end of the third quarter with about 3 minutes left, and it's 38-60, meaning the Sparks are crushing Mercury, a very injured Mercury, without Brittany Griner. It's now 40-60, actually. I'm watching it right now as we do the video. You can see that the Mercury here have a huge percentage of the players that are out. Brittany Griner out for some protocol, something they said. Taurasi out, big names, and Shea Petty out. So it would be predictable that Phoenix would put up fewer points than normal. Normally they would put up 81. We're already in the third quarter and they're still just barely getting to halfway there. They all of a sudden have 40 points with 2 minutes and 39 seconds left. It is 60-40. So the reason why I like focusing on a sport like WNBA instead of a sport like baseball is you just make a lot more sense here. Like the Sparks have some injuries too, but the Sparks are also trying to fight for a playoff spot. And they just made it 63-60. And you can see here that something like the Sparks doing like when this color pattern is exactly the same, that's good. Let's look at it in comparison with Thursday's games, because there are also 4 games on Thursday that we'll talk about. You can see that out of both of these days, this Sparks Mercury game is one of the better picks, because the margin's 7% and the injuries here on Phoenix are so significant that this makes this an obvious pick to go with the Sparks. And while things don't always win every game, like for example, on Wednesday, like there were some losses. The Storm got spanked and completely lost by 23 points, and the Wings lost. These were 2 teams the algorithm normally would have win. They both lost. And while there were some injuries you can see here on the Wings in hindsight, as you see what happened here, that their injury number actually went down. Somebody must have got hurt in that game against the Lynx. That's something that's important there. But yeah, I mean, it's still not bad. Like the algorithm is pretty good, and the Sun did beat the Mystics, which the algorithm said to go with due to this injury here. Anyway, so let's continue looking at the games right now. So it's now 42-63 with 2 minutes left, but it's a 21-point lead for the Sparks, and they're showing they would normally win this game by 6, but there's all these injuries here. They have some injuries too, but Mercury have more. So taking bets against the Mercury's points, below the 75, the Sparks scoring more, which is probably what's going to happen because of the injuries and the rebounding potential loss with Brittany Griner out. Stuff like this makes you like, it shows you how to wager on this game. So let's look at Thursday. You've got the Aces against the Sky. Very difficult to cover a ton of points like this. Vegas likes to put up points, so it's kind of one of those where you just kind of bet on Vegas to score over the team points at some point, because they usually give it a fighting, the old college try is basically what they do. So if you can't bet on them to win because there's a ridiculous line, you just go with the team points. That worked on Friday, even though I didn't know what to say. They actually put up 112. I saw like record 53 points, I believe, for one of the number one players on the Aces. What was her name? I'll be able to show it to you in a second. On the Aces, it's, I believe, Ajay Wilson. Yeah, 73% rating. She is apparently a stellar player. So, what do you do here on Thursday? Aces team points, almost always, if you can get it, it's probably going to be set at about 94. It's going to be a difficult bet anyway. Dallas injured now against Minnesota again. This is a repeat game that just happened Friday, where Dallas lost. Here, they're minus 345. Fascinating. That doesn't seem right, although they should win, so that was an off game that they lost. Interesting. Maybe weird. That line not deserving of it, you'd think, but don't listen to me. Always listen to the algorithm. Storm over the Fever, but both teams suffering from these same injuries as of right now. At least it's an underdog line there. Fever, not a great team. And then this Liberty Sun game. This is the one that I think kind of provides the most bettable information. It says both these teams are pretty darn good. So will the Sun plus 5.5 points be a pick that is a pretty solid pick? The answer is going to be yes. When you see a game this close, anybody plus 5.5 points is more than enough hook to say, if this is a close game, that probably stays within 5.5, that the Sun could potentially win this game at plus 180. So think of both of these ways. But that's the game that stuck out here as the one that probably is showing you the best wager on here. It's going to be the Sun plus 5.5. What else is there? I don't know. That's basically the setup. And so I just wanted to show you that, things like the WNBA algorithm in a sport that has a lot of points like basketball just ends up being very reliable. There's 18 seconds left in the third quarter, and the score is 42-65. And I mean, you got to understand that things like at the beginning of the game, the Phoenix Mercury's projected points for the game were probably in the 70s. And here they are closing out the third quarter, actually taking some free throws right now. They just got up to 43, and Sophie Cunningham might sink another one here to make it 44. Let's see. Yep. So they're still, though, well behind pace. And they're also down in this game by 21 points, right? So pretty predictable stuff. And you can bet accordingly and find a lot of ways live betting to take advantage of something like this. A game where it said the Sparks would win anyway, but the injuries are just dramatic. And so they win by more, and they hold Phoenix to fewer points. I mean, that's why it's a better sport to wager on live betting. I also think it's a more enjoyable sport to watch. I like watching WNBA. I know these girls' names. They can play, they can shoot. Just it's enjoyable, and in that sense, I'd say that wagering has provided a new, has shined a light on sports that you might not get interested in otherwise, but certainly sports that are predicted by the algorithm, I will definitely follow because there's a financial incentive to do so. If it's easier to wager on a sport, I'm more inclined to watch it, but I also enjoy watching basketball. It's not a 3.5+ hour interlude like baseball games. I can't remember the last time I sat and watched an entire baseball game that was wagered on. And that's like, it's still over 2+ hours. And it's also slow moving and just, it's not a rewarding watch. It's something that you kind of have on in the background when you're doing other type of work. Like if you're doing yard work, a baseball game playing on your phone blasting is probably the right thing to have on. But not when you're actively paying attention and watching a game and enjoying it. So if that makes any sense. So it's kind of why I will focus more on sports like this. And of course, NFL, which is enjoyable to watch. Also has a nice time. Nothing starts more on time than an NFL game. They keep their schedule and they're good at doing that. So I would say that there are sports to focus on, and WNBA is one of them. And for here on Thursday, the Sun plus 5.5, if you can get that at -110, is a reasonable line, and they might win that game against the Liberty, but plus 5.5 is good. And you can try to go with Aces points because they are doing it if you want to. And there's a potential underdog line here with the Storm. It's still a 5% margin, even though the Storm are not a very good team. The Fever aren't a great team either. So good luck, everyone, on Thursday. That's the Sports Algorithm Podcast. Yeah, we'll be back. We're rolling, but as you can see, I'm going to pick and choose which sports I do, and I don't think I'm going to update baseball anymore, given there's football happening, as you can see, Friday. Like here's the Friday games. We're not even going to talk about them. There's Saturday football. There's Sunday football. And then WNBA is continuing to go also as they head toward the end of their season, so we can pay attention to playoff implications. These just seem like better sports and easier sports to follow. It's the right amount of effort that I want to put into this. So I think we'll say goodbye to baseball generally for the year here. Unless some people are really interested and want to buy current copies of baseball, but we're getting into the fall, so that means football, and it means basketball, and then it means college basketball, and it means NHL, and it means NBA. All right, so good luck, everybody. Enjoy your autumn. May all your picks be winning.